today meeting. We are already in our sixth meeting, so it less than meeting. It's still much, but we are almost in the half of our semester. So for this meeting, I will give another topic. This is about jQuery. Okay. So today we will learn about jQuery and another form of jQuery, jQuery UI, that we will be used to make an interface or UI, or maybe right now it's many call it with front end. And we also learn about Ajax. Okay. So what's the aim of today meeting? The first is to understand about the query concept and understand about Ajax concept and able to implement jQuery and Ajax in a web page. So what is jQuery? If we say about jQuery, actually it's not far from JavaScript. So actually jQuery is not a new programming language, but it's a JavaScript in the simple form. So jQuery is a JavaScript library to make it easier to use and implement JavaScript on a website. So if we call about JavaScript, JavaScript has many functions that save or that have collect in a library. When we want to using a function, JavaScript function, we don't need to call it with the full function, but we can using jQuery. So it will be easier if we using jQuery rather than we are using the usual JavaScript. So JavaScript is not a standalone programming language, but work in conjunction with the JavaScript. jQuery is free, open JavaScript library. To using jQuery, we just need to call the function of the jQuery. It works same with the JavaScript, with the usual JavaScript. And it also simplifies the task of creating highly responsive web page. As we know, in the last 2 weeks, we have learned about JavaScript, and JavaScript is actually highly responsive web page because when for example, we click something, it will be showing something, or maybe when we are doing something, even like hovering the mouse, press a keyboard, the uh, the content of the HTML also can be changed. It's more dynamic, so it can simplify the tasks of the JavaScript for creating highly responsive web page. And the third is it also works across modern browser. Maybe if you have a old computer with Windows XP, it not really work because it's just too old. But I think all of you have the newer version of Windows or maybe Mac. So I think all of your browser can run the jQuery smoothly and without any problem. So it's work across modern browser in Edge, or Chrome or Mozilla. It will be same in all of the browser, and it abstracts away browser-specific feature, allowing you to concentrate on design. So maybe when I'm still in school, in university, some years ago, when I want to make styling or animation for a browser, for example, for Mozilla, I must add most MOs say in the front of the code. And if I want to it work in Explorer, for example, I also add IE for Explorer. So for jQuery, and because jQuery is modern programming language, so we don't need to adding something like that. So it works with the same code in every browser. So it's abstract away browser specific features. We don't need to give specific code for specific browser. I think all of you know about this because you are born in many years after me, but in some years before, it's important to add browser specific feature in our code. So, jQuery has three important features. The first is cross-platform. It's like I have said before, it can fix error and have the same function when we are running in many browsers. It will be work in Chrome, Firefox, Safari, MSH, IE, Android, also in Android. So in your browser, in your mobile, it also works same. No, no differences from the browser in the computer or desktop and in your mobile. Okay, so the first is cross-platform like that, and the second will make Ajax easy to use. Maybe you have heard about Ajax, but you don't understand about it. So in the later part of our course today, I will learn about Ajax. Ajax. So use an asynchronous work system. If we are using Ajax, it maybe we'll need more code, but in the more code when we are just using JavaScript. But if we are using jQuery, it will be more simple and shorter. And then the third is for manipulating DOM or document object model. We also have learned about DOM before. So DOM is the web page. When the web page is processed by the browser, it will be transformed into tree of object. Maybe you still remember. So if we want to access an element, we want to get element, or maybe we want to set an element, change the element or delete, we can using function that have provided by JavaScript, and the function is for manipulating DOM. And like get element by ID, maybe it's still a bit long, but in jQuery it will be so short, so we can accessing DOM more easily using jQuery. Okay, so the first advantage is write less to more. This is the jQuery motto. Write less to more. Prioritize writing short and clear code through various features. So you will see it in the next slide. It will be so short if we compare it to usual JavaScript. And it has complete documentation and tutorial. So it has official website http://jquery.com. If you open that site, all of the documentation and tutorial and example have shown there. So it's so easy to learn or to work in the jQuery. And the third is that I have tell you before, resolve compatibility issues between browsers. It works fine in many browsers, and it will be show same although we are using browser in desktop or in mobile. Also, the fourth is extensible. So if we want to make our own framework, for example, or we want to make our project, it's easy to use it again in another project. So we can reuse our code from another project in our project that we will work now. Okay, so that about jQuery. Any question? Is my explanation clear?
Yes,
Okay.
mom.
Mom, is it clear?
Okay. And okay, I think I have missed some of. Okay, oh, this is so. How to enable jQuery? How to use jQuery? First, you can open the jQuery in the official website jquery.com. Okay, so this is the official site, and here you can see download. So we can download this here. Okay, if you see here, this is the latest version 3.6.0. This is the last, but you can use, actually you can also using the earlier version, but I recommend you to using the latest version for the completeness. So if you see API documentation here, you can see the version before. But of course, the version before maybe have less function than the latest version. Okay, so you can download it and you can choose this, download the uncompressed development jQuery. Here, if you click, it will be show the text like this. So this is actually the JavaScript. You can see here, this is the jQuery. So jQuery, because jQuery is the library. Library is like the collection of function. So this is a collection of function from JavaScript that save or that have made by jQuery. So this is the code and you must save it first. Okay, you can just save and save it with this extension .js. .js. After that, you can put it in our project. So for today project, I make a folder named week 6. So this JS, jQuery that we have saved before, put it in the same folder with with your code. Okay. After that, to use it, okay. So to use it, you can give the script in the head. So please add it in the head, like the CSS that we have used before. If CSS, but we must add link rel. But for the JavaScript, we add it using script like this. Script and the source. So the source is the jQuery file. This. And you close it with the script tag too. So if we have rewrite this line of code, we have enabled the JavaScript or the jQuery in our code today. Okay, this is how to use jQuery. And if you want another way, you actually we can. Oh, I'm sorry, I have closed. Actually, we can to use JavaScript jQuery without download it. So the first way is we download first and we give the link in our code. But if we don't want to download, we also can use another way. So this is called CDN. Okay, you see here. This is CDN. What is CDN? CDN is content delivery network. So it saves a file in the internet. You don't need to download it. You just need to add the link of the file that have saved in the internet. So for example, this is the Google CDN. So in Google CDN, it have many file libraries. You see in the right, there is Cesium, Dojo, Hammer, and also there is jQuery. So if you want to using the jQuery, you can choose the latest version 3, and you can copy it and you can change this, okay, using the code that have written here. Okay, so it's the same thing with the linking that we have to before. But if you want to using CDN, you must connect to internet. This is the disadvantage. So if you have low internet connection, maybe your function won't work well. So it's actually safer for you to using locally JavaScript or you download using the first way. If you want to using another CDN, for example, here I have Microsoft CDN. Here also we have jQuery. You also can change. You can also copy it and change the source here. Okay. So this is how to using jQuery in our code. And the important function that we must have in our jQuery is the document ready function. So this is the most important. All of our jQuery code must be put inside this function. The dollar is mm, to set that our code is jQuery code. So if you see our code next, all of this code must be start with the dollar sign because the dollar sign is indicator for the JavaScript. I'm sorry, for the jQuery. Okay. So this is, you need to add document ready function here. Okay, like this. Okay, I will run this. Okay, I'm sorry, I have not opened my XMPP, so please wait first. Okay, I will open it. Localhost 6 and Talk ready. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Why it's not show? Okay. If something happen like this, because we want see the error that happened in our code, you can see it from here. You can right click your browser and choose inspect element. Usually in the console, you can see what's wrong with your code, but I think there is nothing wrong. Maybe the jQuery, so I will using the local, not using CDN here. I'm using the local. So this is document ready function, and inside I will put the code. Oh, why it's not showing anything?
Close script, ma'am.
Why? Oh yes, thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for give me. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not focused. Why? I have had lunch before. Okay, you need to put the script here. So when I put it, it will be showing like this. And okay, this is the jQuery will work. So maybe you don't see any difference actually with the JavaScript before, but the difference just in the more simple code. Okay, so maybe I want to show you something. If in the jQuery we have many brackets and we must add curly brace, and we also need add semicolon. So please be careful when type the code, because if we, for example here, if we lack of one braces only, it will give an error. So this is example of the error. You can see here there is uncaught syntax error in the line 8. So for check, you can doing something like this. Okay, so if I add this, it won't be any error here. Okay, so this is the example, the simplest example how to use JavaScript, jQuery, how to use jQuery. Okay, you must add the file first. Okay, how about if I am not giving this, not add the function ready? If I add that, if although we click it for many times, it won't be work because this document ready function is not there. So it's so important to add this line of code. Okay, clear? Okay, next. Okay, so one of the important features of the jQuery is for DOM manipulation. Like we have learned before, the manipulation is used for manipulate the element of the HTML. We can adding element, update element, or we can change or delete the element using DOM. So when we are using jQuery, the selection of the element will be more simple. Okay. So for example, here, I want to hide an element with ID text box. In the last meeting, when we are using JavaScript, we must use this code document.getElementById because this element have an ID and then the ID name and then .style.display equal to none because we want to hide. So the style display must be known. But when we are using jQuery, this long code can be shortened with just something like this. So jQuery must start with the $sign. After that, this is for the selection. So we don't need to write again get element by ID or get element by class. We just need to write the name of the ID. So in the next part, if ID we are using hash sign before, and for this, for example, style display none, jQuery also simplify this into .hide function only. So this long code can be resolved with jQuery. And this is the second example. Create h1 tag with my text. So we want to make a header and the text of the header is my text. If we are using JavaScript, this will be the 3 lines that we must write. For example, like this. We must make the variable first to create element h1, and then we need to put something into the h1 using inner HTML like this. After that, we add this h1 and the text using this get element by tag name body. So why there is body here? If you still remember in the DOM, when we want to put something or we want to add something, we must know which the element is the parent and which the element of is the child. So the new element will be child and the parent is the tag, the outer tag of the new element. So before h1, usually we have body. So the parent tag is the body. And then here, document get element by tag name body first. After that, we can add the new element using append child like this. It will be so much line and so much code that we must do. But when we are using jQuery to get document get element by tag name body like this, we just need to using a $sign and the name of the tag body. And to add, we are not using append child but just append and then the tag and .html to give the text for the tag h1. Okay, so this is the example. Any question first? No?
None, ma'am.
None, mom.
Okay. You are not sleepy, right?
No, ma'am.
No, mom.
Okay. Okay, I hope you still have some energy to finish today's meeting because I think for today's meeting we have many practice that we must do. And this is the selector like we have seen before. This is the get element by ID and we have three actually for the JavaScript, the selector is the get element by ID, by tag, and by class. Maybe you have opened your last week job sheet to remember it. And when we are using jQuery, this this selector or how to select the element, we just need the dollar sign and the name. So the difference is if we are using tag name, we don't need to add anything other than the tag name. So dollar sign and brace, brackets, and the quotation mark and the name of the tag. So for example, like this, div PA. No need any decoration. And for the tag ID, like the one that we have learned in the CSS topics, if it's ID, usually we are using hash sign here. So before the name of the ID, we must add the hash sign. For example, hash name, hash address. So if we have hash address, it must be the element that we want to use is an element that have ID name address. And the last is class. For the class, it's similar with the ID. We need to add something before the name. But for the class, we need to add the dot. Okay, so for the tag, we don't need to add anything. We just need to write the name. And for the ID, we must put the hash sign before the name of the ID. And for class, we need to write dot first before the class name. So that is the difference. And we just need to using this only, not get element by blah blah blah. And for to select all element, we can also select all element using this star sign. Okay. And we can also combine the selector. For example, we have a tag that have name. So to access that, we can using tag name and class. So we can combine many selector. Usually tag name is in the front and followed by class name and followed by ID and followed by ID. So the first is tag, the second is class, and next the ID. But something we can also change ID first and then name, but tag usually it must be front when we want to combine. Okay, so I will give example first. So this is the selector. Okay, so here, like usual, I must link this HTML with the jQuery to using the library that we have in jQuery or the function that we have in jQuery. After that, it the must it the it the base function that we must use, document ready function, and then the inside is the jQuery function. So here, if you see here, we have button and click here actually is the event. The last time we have learned about event like on click, on mouse over, on mouse out, but in the jQuery, it also shortened to click only. So if I read this, when button is clicked, we will run this block of code. So the first is for the each one, you see here H1 only. So this is selection using tag name. So the tag name is H2 here. So this will be high for in this code. And for this line of code, we have class name subtitle that also will be high. So you see here, we have class name subtitle. So we are not using H3, we are not using the tag, but we are using the class. It's up to you. It's up to developer, to or programmer, to using selector. Which one that you want to use, it's up to you. You can using the tag, you can also using the class or ID. It's depend on your need. And then uh, this will hide the element that have ID name par. So you see here there are ID name par, and in this we have element that have ID also class. So you see here the ID is pair and the class is 2. To combine it, this is for the class hash and the name of class, and you don't need to give space here for the ID. So this is the ID dot, don't forget, I'm sorry, for the class. For the class is always start by dot and the name of the class. And here for the last is to hide element that have tag p and tag div and tag p and have the class name tags. So you see here we have div in the outer tag. So we are write the div first and then follow by p and then followed by the name of the class is text. Don't forget for class, we must add the dot. Okay, so this is it work. And I will run it. Selector. Okay, this is like this. In your assignment then, you can change the dot here, blah 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 here with something about you. And when I click this, okay, all of them will be hide except this paragraph, because this paragraph is not called or not select in this Jquery. Okay. Maybe when you are run this, you have typo. Maybe for example here, I must write subtitle, but I have typo like this. Okay. So when I have typo like this, actually it won't be show in the error, but you can see something not right happen here. Why this is not hide? So if there is something not right here happen to your code, you must be look again in your code and please be careful and take a look again. Don't wrong at the typing the name of the selector. Okay. Okay, so maybe I will explain to about the event like that we have learned in the JavaScript. When event happen, the block of code can be run too. It also saved in the jQuery, but it will be simple in the code when we are using jQuery for calling an event. Uh, This is how to how to use the even. The dollar sign in the front is to define jQuery. So if you are using jQuery, you will have many money because we have many dollar sign. And then we have here, this is the selector. It depends on what you choose. You can using tag or ID or class here. And then dot and jQuery even other that function and follow the code. So it's like we have learned in the selector HTML before. This is the even. So this is another example here. I have the paragraph here. So this paragraph have this style. I don't add the CSS file, but the styling add in the style tag in the head. And then we will run or we will check many events that happen to this paragraph that has ID paragraph 2. So this is the ID. When we want to use the ID, we must be at the hash sign before the name of the ID. So you see here we have many hash paragraph, and then this is the event. You see, after selection we can add the event. The event is the click and the function. And when we click this paragraph, the CSS or the style will be changed. So not like the JavaScript. In JavaScript, when we want to change the style, we need to add the style and then the attribute. But for the jQuery, we just need to add .css here, and then the name or the attribute and then the value inside the CSS. Okay, so this will happen when we click the paragraph, and for the second, it will be happen when we are doing mouse over. So mouse over is when I put the mouse or the cursor over or top of this element, and mouse out. When mouse out, it also run something here, change the background color, and we also can double click. Okay, for double click, the event is TBL click like this. Okay, any question first? No?
No, ma'am.
None,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So this is our code. When it first load, the CSS will be like this, and we are doing something in this paragraph. It will be changed in the style because in our code we change the CSS. So I will doing mouse over like this. The background of this paragraph or this element will be changed into brown from pink. And if I am doing mouse out, the background will be changed into blue. Okay, mouse over, mouse out, mouse over, mouse out like this. And when I click, okay, this is click, the color of the font will be changed. I click one click only. Okay, the text will be changed, the color. And when I doing double click, okay, it will be adding the border here. So this is the event that happen to paragraph that we have in this code. Okay, so maybe After this, you can try to make jQuery first. Uh, for the next function of the jQuery is animation. So we will make some animation like show, hide, fade in, fade out, slide using jQuery. Actually, it also uh, it also available in JavaScript, but we can use it more easy when we are using jQuery because jQuery have put it into the function that easily to use. Okay, so maybe I will open the code. Okay, this is the example of using animation in jQuery. Here we will make effect, hide and show. So for example, if we have a box, it can be hide, it can be fade, and it can be show when we click some button. Okay, so here maybe first I will explaining about the body. In here I have three div. In each div it also link into the CSS, so you can make a CSS file too. The CSS will make this div have head and width, so it will be a box. And in every div, it also have the different color. So for the first div one, for div with ID one, it will be have background color red, and the second is green, and the third is blue. But it has the same dimension with 8dpx, and the head is 8dpx. Okay, so this is inside the HTML, the body, and here we also have five button. We are using tag button, and we give each button class. Okay, we have class button 1, button 2, button 3 until button 5, and every button has different function. For the first hide, it will be hide, or it will be make the box disappear, and the second is show, fade out, fade in, and fade to. Okay. Okay, so for the first button, we can add the function here using jQuery. So this is the base function from jQuery. We must add it first. And please, I remember you again to be careful when typing, because in jQuery we have many brace, many brackets, and sign, dollar sign, hash, dot, and many other. Okay, so for the first button, this is even click. So when we click the first button, all you see here, this is the selector. Still remember, this is selector for what? Tag, ID, or class? Hello? Hello? This is for
Text, mom.
tag. Okay, good. So this is for tag, you see here. So all of the elements that have tag div will be hide. Okay, so for the first button, all the elements that have div tag will be hide. Because we have three, so three of these will be hide if I click the first button. And this is the second button. And you see here, the button here, we are using class. So the class, to select the class, we are at the dot in front of the name of the class. Okay. And for the second button, we also choose using selector tag. So all of the tag div will be show. Okay. The first and the second, we will hide and show three of these div. And for the third, okay, in the third, you see the is using hash. If hash was the selector that we use, div, tag, ID, or class, if we are using hash,
Tag ID, ma'am.
ID, okay, right, good. So here, the div that has ID div1 will be fed out. So this is the normal one, fed out. Fed out is disappear, not all of this box, but like there is animation. Maybe you have tried it in the PowerPoint. It will be uh, what can I say? There is animation when it disappear. And fade out for the div2, for the id2, it will be fade out with slow. So inside here you actually can add the value of the attribute like slow. And this is 3000 is the time in millisecond. So if I write 3000 here, so it will be fade out, or it will be disappear in 3 seconds, because 3 seconds is 3000 milliseconds. Okay, it's also same with the button 4. So every div here will have different effect. So the first is the normal, and the second is slow, and the third in 3 seconds. And for the fifth, it has fade to effect, different with fade to and fade out. If fade to, it not really disappear, it just change the opacity. So it will be, it will have brighter color if the value here is smaller. So the first will be brighter than the second, and the second will be brighter than the third. So the third is the most dark because the opacity is big here. Okay, so we have three. I'm sorry, we have three. Okay, we have three divs, we have three elements, and we have 5 buttons. So I will try it first. Hide. Okay, so this is the first HTML display that will be shown when we are opening this web page, and we will try 5 of them. The first, hide, you see here, this is using selector div, so all of them will be hide. Okay, so if hide, it will be disappear directly, and in show it will be showing directly too. And fade out, maybe you will see the difference here. Or fade out. Okay, okay, the first one is the normal, the most the quickest when disappear. The second is a little bit slow, and the third is slowest because we are using 3 seconds to fade out, and this for fade in. Okay, like this. Same with fade out, but just using different effect, fade in, and for fade to, it won't be disappear, it just change in the opacity. Okay, so this is the first example using effect or animation in our jQuery. Okay, any question? Okay, and then if you don't have any question, I will continue with the slide. So this is the example of slide. Okay, slide effect is like this. It will be sliding, slide up. The first one that disappear is in the below, and it's going up. Okay, like this. This is slide up. Actually, it's the same with the before, just the different element or different button. We are not using button. So here we are using div, but it actually is same because you can also add the event click in the div element. Okay, we can also change it to down. Okay, I'm sorry. For down. Okay. So here for down, it will be showing. If we are using slide up, it will be disappear. But for slide down, it will be show. Okay, this is the example from up to bottom. And there are also slide toggle. I don't know how to spell it, toggle. And in this slide toggle, you can see here, we can combine the slide up and slide down here. So the good afternoon text here will be disappear and show after we click the div in the up here. Okay, so this is the example of slide. Okay, and the other is we can also add animation like the before, but the before it just for show, disappear, hide, show, hide, slide. This for function animate, we can move the element that we have, so it won't be in a fixed place, but it will be moved left or maybe right, like this. So here, like the one we have before, we make div that have the where I put it. So we have div here, and div here is in the box width and height. It have same height and width, and we also have a button. When this button is clicked, you can see here, we select the element that have button tag. When the button is clicked, this div will be animate, so it will be moved. And inside the animate, we can add the attribute and also the value here. So if you see left 300 here, it will be moved to the left, and it will be moved 300 pixel. Okay. Okay. It will be like this. I don't know why. If we choose left, actually it will be too right. So left here 3,000 here. Actually, the space between this and the left of this screen. So the value is showing the space that we have here. If we want to change it to another value, you can also do that. Or maybe you can try by yourself. Okay, like this. Okay, if you see in this example, this animation just move once, so it will be far away from the left of this screen, just one move. But how when we want to add more animation? Okay, in Jquery, we can add multiple animation methods into a single element using chaining. Okay, chaining, you know chain, right? So when we are using chaining, it will be run many animation in one event or in one element. Okay, this is the example. Actually, it is same with we have before. It's the box like this. But in chaining, you can see the difference. Here, when we click the button, it just have one method or one function that will be run. If you see in the chain, we have many method or function that will be executed. The difference is we don't need to write the element again when we want to do another function. So you see here, this is the div animate left, and for the here, I just need to choose this element once. After that, I can follow it with many functions, with many animate functions. So dot animate with different value here. So value here, it can be like this. Left to move from the left, and it can also width or height. So we can change the width and the height of this element, and we can also give the margin left, and we can also add the border and the opacity. So this 5 function will be run in one click and in one element. Okay, I will show you about the chaining. Okay, it is same box with before, but it will be execute many code or many function to animate. Okay, I click it first. Okay, this the first is it will be at the width and the height, and will be move left, and then add the border and add the opacity. Okay, so if you want to add another, for example, you want to change the height again, we can also do this to make it smaller, maybe or change the border to become smaller. We just need add in here without selecting the element again. Okay, so it will be like this. Okay, so we can run many effects in once using chaining. Okay, any question? No?
None.
None, mom.
None,
Okay, and then uh, we still have many topics left. So I will continue about jQuery DOM manipulation. Okay, jQuery DOM manipulation is like the one that we have learned before. It's also using DOM to manipulate our element HTML, our HTML element. So the difference is just the function. It will be more short. It will be shorter than we are using the JavaScript. So this is the example for get. Maybe you still remember in our JavaScript DOM HTML topics, we can showing the value or we can get the value from many ways. So we can uh, display text in the HTML. There are two methods. The first is author HTML. So if we are using author, not author, document out. When we are using document out, we don't need to specify the element that we want to show. We can just write directly into our HTML. We can also using inner HTML. Usually, when we are using inner HTML, we are choosing the element first, the element that we want to write. And we also can make alert like the form validation that you have before, like that. And we will showing something into alert. So it's also same in the jQuery. Actually, it's same. So the difference just in here. Okay. Uh, uh, Actually, for the first one, we will show it in the alert. All of them we will show in the alert, and this is the get method. So for the get method, we will get or we will retrieve the data from the web page that we have. This is the body. So in this body, we have first paragraph with ID test1 and have text. This is the first paragraph. And for the second is test2. This is another paragraph. And the third, we are not only have the text, but we also have the input element here. So the input element here has ID name test. So for the get, we will get for the first button, we will get the text from the ID test1, and for the second, we will get from the ID test2, and the third, we will get it from the input. So input value, you can see here value. This is HTML text. If you using get, maybe it won't be any different between text and HTML, but you see the difference in the set after this. So to get the value of the input, we are using dot val here. Okay, I will show you. Okay, like this. This is the first paragraph, this is another paragraph. So I will get text. So when I click this button will getting this element and show it into alert like this. This is the first paragraph. And HTML also same, get this and showing here. And for value, because I don't give any value or keep it blank, so nothing to show here. But for example, if I put something here, like this, it will be showing here. Okay, so this is how to get value, how to get text, and how to get HTML element using jQuery. Actually, it similar with we have in JavaScript. The difference is the selector and also the function. The function will be shorter, just using text, HTML, or file here. Okay, so this is for getting the data. How about to set or giving the data? Okay, so it's like the one before, but here we will add uh, we will adding text, adding into this. Okay, okay, so because this is using alert, so we get the value to show in the alert. But in here, for the element that we already have, it will be changed with the text that we have right here. So for example, for the button 1, when we click button 1, okay, the element text 1 will be changed with text this. And for the second button, this element will be changed with this. And for the third, the value, so this is the value will be filled with something. Like the one before is we are input the value, but for set, we will put the value, we will input the value from this button. Okay, maybe you will confuse if you not seeing the example. So this is the example. Okay, if I set text here, it will be showing like this. It will, if I set HTML, it will be shown like this. Do you know what difference between these two? Anyone know? Hello? Okay, maybe if you still confused, I will show you here. In this tag, we are giving the text with the tag B. So it must be become bold. Usually, it will be become bold if we are adding the tag B. But because here we write it or we set it as a tag, so the tag here won't be recognized. It will become just a usual text. But for the second, in here we are using function HTML, and then because we are using HTML function, if we have something like tag here, it won't be show, but it won't be processed as tag. So the hello jQuery here will be have a bold text because the tag here will be processed as HTML. So that's different when we are using text and we are using HTML. In text, our tag, our attribute and all won't be processed. And the third set value, okay, we will put something into the input that we have like this. Okay, so this is to get and set into our HTML page using jQuery. Okay, any question? No?
None, mom.
None, mom.
None,
Oh,
none, mom.
okay, then maybe I will take break first, and you can continue to work on your assignment. So you can continue the part 4 if you still haven't finished it. But if you have finished, you can move on part 5, and I have explained until part 8 actually. So we are left with maybe I won't show you it, and because you can you can try it, and it's actually similar with we have before. After this, I will show you about jQuery plugin, but maybe we will have break for 15 minutes, okay? Okay, about jQuery UI. jQuery UI is functionality, additional features of the jQuery that specific in the UI or user interface. So it has different file, it has different library to make jQuery UI. The other additional feature that we also will learn for today is a text functionality. Okay, I have typo there. So jQuery UI is a JavaScript library or jQuery. This is library that is default to application development in the user interface or front end of the web page or web project. The following jQuery UI features can be used to build website or web-based application. Date input form, sortable element, accordion widget, auto complete form, create button, magnification, progress bar, and other. Okay, so for using jQuery UI, like the jQuery, you also must download the library in the official website. Okay, if you see here, we have tab in here. If you move to another, you see we have jQuery UI. So actually jQuery not only make library jQuery, but jQuery also make jQuery UI, and there are jQuery mobiles, sizzles, key unit. So this is the product of the jQuery. To open jQuery UI, you can click it. Okay, so here, and you will download the file. After that, to use it in your code, you can click the stable here, or maybe you see here. You can choose the stable one. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Before it's not. Before the stable is 112.1, but you can also use 1 13 version. And if you click the file, this is the download button. If you download, actually it will be in the zip file format. So you must extract first and put the folder that you have extract in your project folder. So this is the example. I'm using the version 1.12.1 here. All of the file inside the folder, you must put it. Don't change anything after extract it. Just put it in your file. So this is the example like this. Okay. Okay, and then to use the file, to use the file, for example here, you must link, of course, you must link the file with your file. This is the example. Actually, sometimes we don't need to add the CSS. If you see here, it also have CSS file to make your web page look better. Sometimes we don't need that, but if you want it look more good, you also can link the CSS. So first you link the CSS file with this link rel style sheet. This is for CSS. And don't forget to write the name of the folder first. So the name of the folder, jQuery UI 1.12.1, and then the name of the file. Okay. The file is the file CSS. Actually, here we have many files. So usually we are using the standard. The standard is this ui.css and ui.js. Mean here is it like the light version, minimal version of the jQuery. And this is also the structure 10 and so on. Okay. This you add the jQuery. After that, to work on jQuery, we can call the jQuery function or jQuery UI function. Actually, it's same with the jQuery. How to call it is same. The first we define the jQuery using this dollar sign, and then we are also using selector. So for example, here I have like this div id jQuery accordion. So this is the selector to choose this element, all of this element, and this is the function that will be applied. Okay, it's same with the usual jQuery, but it gives more attractive functionality in the front end website. Okay, I will try this accordion. Okay, so this is the example. This accordion is like this. We have three sections like this. This section that active will be showing the content. If we choose the other, okay, the section that we choose will be show, and the other will be hide. Okay, so this is accordion. We can put something like this list. We can also give the image, and we can also put the text only like this. So this is accordion. Actually, I have more, but I will show you in here in the website, official website. So in the official website, if you click the demos menu here, there are many things that we can do. For example, this is draggable. You see here, there will be demo that we can use and we can copy it in our project. For example, we have box here and this box can be dragged inside this this screen, and if we put it here, it will automatically add the scroll. Okay. To view the code, you can click view source and you can copy it into your code to use this function. Okay. Another is resizable. Usually if we want to resize, we must change the CSS like this, but using jQuery UI, we can directly change the size here like this. So this is really interactive because user can change directly in the web page. Another is, for example, is button. The button is not like the usual button that we make. Usually the button is like this, but if we are using jQuery button, we can add some effect like this. If we click it, we have different color like this. And then we have something like this, slider, and many others. We can also add some, okay, like we are adding effect in the PowerPoint, right, like this. So you can add this many things into your code just using jQuery UI library. Just include this code, write this code into your programs. Okay. Okay. I want to show you it. Actually, it's not jQuery UI, but it's jQuery, usual jQuery. Oh, it's not this. What? Slideshow. Maybe you usually see something like this in a web page. So you can make this kind of web page, is this kind of slideshow using jQuery. It's also there in your job sheet. I think so you can try to make this kind of slideshow later in your web page using jQuery. Okay. So this is about jQuery UI and jQuery. And then I will continue. Any question? No? Any question? It's okay if you want to
No,
ask.
none, ma'am.
Okay, and then I will give you information about the text. Yeah, the text is not a programming language, so maybe one of you have heard about the text. It's a part of JavaScript. So this is not the name of programming language. This is a technique for creating better, faster, and more interactive web application. With Ajax, JavaScript can load data from the server to a web browser without reloading or refreshing the entire page. So what Ajax does is use a JavaScript-based HTML HTTP request object to send and receive information to and from a web browser. This is the usually our web page. When we are open the web page in the browser, uh, the web the browser will send the HTTP request into our web server. For example, if we are using XMPP Apache, so the browser will send the request to Apache, and then if we have database, the Apache will also connect us to the database, and then will back to web server and send the HTML and CSS data into our browser again. So this is the normal one. But when we are using Ajax, this is our user interface. So before we are requesting the HTTP request, we are send HTTP request, we will call JavaScript using Ajax engine. Ajax, because Ajax is part of JavaScript, so it use JavaScript language, and then it will send to web server. But here, the one that send is not HTML and CSS only, but it also send the XML. So what is XML? XML is actually like HTML. It's using tag like that. There are structure, structure file like that. But XML usually used for sending data, for processing the data. So when we are using Ajax, the data will be sent using XML. Maybe you are a little bit confused. So I will give you the example. I think all of you maybe every day have search something in the Google. If you see here, my Google is in Indonesia. So if I see here, for examples like this, you see the list or the recommendation here will be changed depending what I type here, and where this data come from. Actually, this data come from the database or the server. But if you see here, the data that's showing in the recommendation will be shown without I reload the page. Without I'm reloading the page or refresh the page, it will be automatically load here. So this is the example of using Ajax. So we can get the data from the database or from the server without reload it. Okay, the another example, I think I have example and just example.
Tired of cold calling?
Okay,
Introducing Lucia.
maybe I won't show you something from video, but maybe you have try in the application, web application, something we need to put, for example, address. For example, we put the state or province like this, and then it will be show the city of that state. That is example of Ajax too. So when we put, for example, we put something in the state, then the list in the city will be changed depending the state that we choose without we need to reload the page. So that's also the example of Ajax. How to use Ajax? So this is the example. This Ajax, you don't need to add the jQuery UI. You just need to add the jQuery, the standard jQuery like this. And this is also same with with other jQuery. This here I will show you to load a file. The file is here. I have another HTML file. When I click this button, this file will be loaded into our web page using this load. This is example of Ajax. I will give you the example demo. Okay. So I have the button here. Okay. When I click the button, it will be redirect to another HTML file that I have right here. You see here, I put the HTTP localhost x6 and so on. Why I write the localhost? Because in Ajax, the system of Ajax actually it calls something from the server because we just have the local server. So we also put the local server here. So you can just write like this. For example, just write the name of the HTML that you want to load. You can doing something like that, but you must write the full URL the of this page with the local host as if being host into server. Okay, and if you see it again, okay, I will try it again. Actually, that file is the test content, but when we load it, you can see here, it still test Ajax. Although the one that show here, actually test content. So with using Ajax, the web page won't be reload or won't be refreshed. It still have the same URL. Okay. Any question?